I am one of the chapter co-leaders of the San Francisco chapter, and I've been participating with CCL for around 6 years. And maybe you'll learn more about me during the session here. What I do for work is I work in learning and development at a software company in San Francisco.
And my name is Sundance Banks. Sundance is my real name. I'm originally from Amarillo, Texas. Earlier in my career, I worked on Capitol Hill for a few different members of Congress. I was a press secretary for a few, and legislative assistant for a few members of Congress, and then went to law school, and now I'm an in-house attorney at a solar company in San Francisco, and I'm the group lead for the San Mateo County chapter of Citizens Climate Lobby, and have been involved for a little over 3.5 years. So really excited to be here talking with you all today. From my perspective, I think the students' voices are going to be the most important voices in the climate movement over the next decade. And whether or not you realize it right now, I would argue everyone in this room is already a climate leader in some way. And what today is about is taking next steps and sort of going on that journey. So we want to have some time here for you to reach out to and introduce yourself to some people around you. So why don't you take a moment?
So this is what you can do. Just meet a couple of the people around you. What I want you to do is introduce your name. Maybe you can say where you're from. And also you can share with them, what do you hope to get out of being here today? And by that I mean being like in this session with us for the next 2 hours. What do you want to get out of this, okay? All right, go ahead, introduce yourself and share what you want to get.
May be newer in their journey. Some people may have been doing a lot now. So why don't you hold up a hand and say, hold up one finger if you're totally new to this, 3 if you feel okay, you've got a lot to learn, 5 if you're totally confident in your advocacy. Let's just get to see you. Anybody who wants to sort of, okay.
Show up fingers.
Yeah, 3, 2, seeing some 1, 3, yeah, I've got 1, 5 in the room.
There.
Yeah, this is great. So for folks who are newer to this process, you're in the right place. This is exactly where you want to be. For folks who are midway, this is great. You can share some with folks who are newer and learn to sharpen those skills. And for the folks who are at the high level, perfect. Be a leader in this room. Help talk to people during the breaks and get the message out there on what all we can be doing. Just one other question. So hold your hand up if you are from the East Bay, and let's just see a sense of geography. Okay, what about San Jose? Anybody that area? Or okay, a few people. Peninsula. Okay, San Francisco. What about those South Lake Tahoe folks? Oh, wow. All right, give it up for that. And then one more thing. How many freshmen do we have in the room? And sophomores? I was talking high school. Let's do high school. We're sophomores. We got some sophomores, juniors, seniors, college. And then some slightly older people who are not in college anymore. Yeah, I think those are pretty obvious. All right. Great. Well, we're glad to have all of you here today.
Yeah. So our objectives for today, I'm going to review these and we're going to get right into it. So out of being here, you have new communication tools at your disposal designed to enable you to effectively talk about divisive issues. So climate change is what I would describe as a divisive issue. Not everybody agrees with you on this. Yet the biggest challenge, or the challenge worth taking on, is actually going to the people that don't agree with you on this topic, or on any topic really, and actually starting to do that out of this session. You learn the power of being for solutions rather than against inaction. You being interested instead of interesting, and exercising citizen power instead of political force. Thirdly, you can confidently educate elected officials who you may have previously viewed as inaccessible and neighbors you may have thought unreachable. And I would add here, this is anywhere in between. So it could be a school administration official, it could be a community leader in your local city. So that's who we're talking about here. And it can be your neighbor. And then lastly, we have a not-so-secret agenda that we want some of you that out of this conference and out of this session end up attending the national CCL conference that goes on in June, and you meet your members of Congress or the staff of that member of Congress. We want some of you to come to that. Okay, so let's look at the agenda. So this is the agenda of what we're going to be going through today. We'll start with, how do we build relationships? Like, what actually goes into that? What is it to communicate for something, not against something? Civics, lobbying, and CCL's proposal. So we're going to be covering, like, what is this lobbying thing? And if you're worried, like, I don't know what lobbying is, and I'm in this session, we're going to cover that. Not first, but we'll cover it. Organizing action in your community. So, as Sundance said, many of you, whether you know it or not, are climate leaders. And if you're like, but I'm not, I'm like, no, I'm deputizing you to be a climate leader. You worked it out to come to a conference on a weekend to learn about how to take action on climate change. You're a climate leader. And then lastly, we're going to have an exercise around, you're going to run a meeting with a group of other people here for meeting a member of Congress. We're going to do that at the end of this session. Now, right before we're about to get into fundamentals of relationship building. Actually, I'm going to save Marshall's skills for civics and CCL. I think it would really work well there. Okay, so fundamentals of relationship building. So actually, let's go back. I'll bring that up in a bit. CCL, so Citizens Climate Lobby's approach to expressing citizen influence, lobbying, is through relationship building. It's not, and what I mean by this is not, it's not going and like yelling at somebody, like, do something or stop doing that, and then going back to your life and never talking to them again. That's not what relationship building here is. Relationship building here is, over time, building a relationship of respect and communication between two parties, even if you disagree about stuff, and from that, getting some outcomes that you wouldn't be able to if you didn't build a relationship over time. Okay, so we're going to do an exercise here. In a moment, you're going to be pairing up with somebody next to you, and you're going to take turns sharing with each other. And what I'm going to ask you to share is, think of a person you personally know that you respect, admire, or appreciate. And by personally know, I mean like not a celebrity, like somebody you'd like actually have a conversation.
Unless you're like secretly best friends with a celebrity.
Yeah, that's okay.
If you're like best friends with Drake or something, do Drake.
That's fine. If respect, admiration, and appreciation is present. Where do you find difficulties in respecting your friend? Please be as specific as possible. So, let me share an example from me. I have a friend that I have known for many years. And whenever I'm with this person, I only get to see them every few months now, really. But whenever I am, it's like we pick up right where we last were. He is so interested in what's going on, and he also shares about what he's going on in this really interesting, cool way. But he's also asking about what's going on for me, and it's fun, and I love being that kind of friend. So some of the things that person does to build this relationship is you kind of heard it there. Now, where do I find difficulty in respecting my friend? This friend happens to be kind of unreliable. He will say, like, let's meet up, and then the day of, he's like, I can't meet up anymore. So there's that. And I've come to know that about my friend and really have a relationship despite it, and I work with that as well. Okay, so now I want you to find a partner. Everybody find a partner right now. It's probably the person next to you. It should be a partner, not a group of three.
Well, I feel like we should
All right. Now, before you begin, don't begin yet. Please raise your hand if you are not in a partnership. Keep your hand raised. And y'all behind the bookcase. I'd love for y'all to participate too. So, like, you can partner up with each other as well. Okay, so let's have the two of you together. Could you partner up with right here, and could you partner up with the person behind the bookcase there with his hand raised? Yeah, right there. Yeah. Okay, go ahead and go. I'm going to give you about 2 or 3 minutes to discuss this. Get to both people, so just switch on your own, all right? Go ahead and go. So can anyone share, what are some elements or examples of things that make for a relationship of respect, admiration, and appreciation? What are some things that make for that?
Yeah, my friend, she's very much against people that are good listeners.
People that are good, so you have a friend that's a good listener?
I have a friend that's a terrible listener.
So you have a counter example. Okay, all right, yeah.
I was gonna say people that stay in good communication.
Cool. What kind of ways do they communicate with you?
Texting or calling.
Yeah, they text or they call you. Like, yeah, okay. There's a variety of ways of doing that. Yeah.
Like vulnerability, like being able to say anything that you need to, and they can like retrieve that and help you.
Yeah. So there's vulnerability, and it sounds like in the space of vulnerability,
You can like trust them.
you can trust them. You could share what's really going on for you, and they can trust you with it. Yeah. And you can trust them with it. Yeah.
That they're knowledgeable about what they're talking about.
Yeah. They're knowledgeable in what they're talking about, whatever it is, or they acknowledge, the amount of expertise they have and whatever it is they're talking about. Yeah. Yeah.
Have a good sense of humor.
They have a good sense of humor. Yeah. Yes?
Optimistic about anything, even like no matter how bad the situation is.
Yeah,
Just
isn't
optimism.
that funny how that works? Like, yeah, being optimistic about whatever it is, like, it adds something to the relationship. Yeah?
Yeah, the guy I was thinking of, he expects nothing in return from generating a friendship. He just wants to stay in touch, but there are no strings attached.
Yeah, it's not, there isn't like a reciprocality expected. It's just like, I just want to be your friend, Yeah?
Welcoming differences of opinions. So not just looking for similarity, but also differences.
Yeah, so you and they might have differences that you can share with each other. Maybe you have a lot in common, but you're able to acknowledge where you have differences and not get into some big
Right, because
argument.
often it's we can grow from opinions that are different than ours.
Yeah. So all of those go into building relationships. So I want you to get that you already have a good sense of what it takes to build a functional relationship. Now, when we go and we're building a relationship with a person of influence, it's a member of Congress, it's not radically different. Yes, it is different in some important ways. We'll acknowledge those, but like being able to share what's going on, staying in regular communication, even vulnerability, like being able to share things in confidence with each other, like that is part of a relationship like this. Let's see the next here. So some of the things that go into relationship building, and you can do as well. Outward acts, if I were like looking at what is happening, the things that are working, some of these are you spend time together, you actually meet up. And having an ask, like one thing I really like about my friend is he is always like, let's go do this thing. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. But he like is proposing things and wanting to go do it. And is also saying yes to the things I'm asking. So having an ask back and forth is also part of a good relationship. Now, some of the underlying skills that we're looking for you to develop that support this, being a good listener, appreciating them. So like just simply saying, thanks for coming. I'm really glad that you're my friend. Like, doesn't that make a huge difference? But we skip it a lot. Same goes for relationships with members of Congress. Clarity. When your friend is talking with you, like you said, like they're actually knowledgeable about the things that they're talking about. You can also say when they talk, you're able to understand and follow their logic about it. Being there for them. They're not expecting things in return. They're just your friend. Reliability. So all that shows up. Do you want to speak about like this in the lens of member of Congress?
I would say, think about Barbara Lee being here today. Why was she here? Why was she willing to come? It's because a lot of people in that chapter have spent time together with her and her staffers, and they've built up credibility, they've built up relationships, and that's what CCL does in the most liberal districts in the country and in the most conservative districts. And the strategy is not just about being nice to them, it's also about having an ask. At the last lobby day in DC, there were some high school students from our chapter who were there, and we decided what the ask was going to be. One of the students was like, we're having trouble getting the word out at our high school. We really want to find some ways to do that. And we said, okay, what if you asked the congresswoman to come to your high school and talk about climate change? And so she was a sophomore. She was a little worried about doing that. We're sitting in the room with the congresswoman, and she's like, we're having trouble getting the word out. Would you be willing to come to our high school and talk about climate change? And just instantly she said, yes, I'll come. And you know why? Because you ask. And it's important in these relationships to be respectful and to put in the time, but to also make your ask. It really does pay off.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go to saving it. So, forwarding it again. So, there's a particular, let's see here. There's a default way you start talking about climate change. What does it usually sound like when you're talking about climate change to people around you? Like, what does it sound like? You got any examples?
Scary.
This is so scary. Yes. What else?
It's an us versus them. Like, they're.
If only those other people would get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. What else? What does it sound like?
It may be about a weather event or something that, you see in the news, that's catastrophe.
Yeah. You might bring up like the recent catastrophe. Yeah.
Often it's skating around talking about it because you're afraid that you might get into a disagreement.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. Skating around things. Yeah.
I'd say maybe like you might, or at least I might accidentally be too forceful, like, oh, this is so, like you have to like do this, and they might kind of be intimidated by
Like
that.
your urgency is off-putting to other people. Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally struggle with that.
People get really negative really fast.
Yeah, we get really negative really fast. I mean, you can even hear it in the first like 4 or 5 or all of the things we've suggested, like urgency, catastrophe, scared, like that's kind of there. So, this is a great quote that I think we'll put this in perspective. If the world were merely seductive, that would be easy. If it were merely challenging, that would be no problem. But I arise in the morning torn between a desire to improve or save the world and a desire to enjoy or savor the world. This makes it hard to plan the day. So, as climate advocates, welcome to your experience. So you're going to have plenty of times where you're like, the world needs me. I need to go take action. And that, yes, it does. But in a way, savoring must come first. If you lose a sense of what you love about the world, your ability to act on saving it is weakened. And also, when it comes to communicating about this issue, the thing we usually skip over is the savoring part. We talk all about the saving part. We need to do this, that's this, I'm really scared, we need to act. Yes, but we skip over the savor part. So we're going to practice the savor part of communication. So stick with us as we go through this. Let's see if I want to see the next one. What's the next slide? Yeah, okay, so I'm going to ask you to think about a specific place or tradition that you love, something that you want to be around for future generations or your life, and it's threatened by climate change. Let me give you an example of this. So, a specific place or tradition. I live in San Francisco, and I really love living in San Francisco. And one of the things I get to do that I did a few months ago is I went out to Dolores Park for a movie there, and they inflated an inflatable screen, brought out a big projector, and everybody just started filling it out like it was a big picnic area in front of this drive-in movie, you could say, in the park. And I got a bike out there with my wife and my young daughter, and we got to just be on this. People were playing around. It was Star Wars, so there was like people in masks like fighting with lightsabers and other things, and it scared my daughter. She got over that. The movie started. She fell asleep. We loved the movie, and then we brought her home sleeping and put her to bed. And I absolutely loved being able to be outside in my community calmly watching this awesome movie. And I get to do that in San Francisco because it is so great to be outside. And I'm worried that that's actually not going to be always possible in the future. I mean, we've already seen a number of instances where the smoke has kind of made San Francisco not doable, and I imagine many of you have dealt with that in your communities as well. So that's something that I really savored, I love about the world and existing. So I'm going to ask you to share with your partner and find one as well. Now, before I do that, what were some of the things about what I shared that you remember? I just want to highlight a few things. What are some of the things about what I shared that you still remember?
The imagery.
What was that again?
The imagery.
What about the imagery?
Yeah, what
That
images?
was specific, that you had like specific things that were happening.
Yeah, there's specific things that are happening. What were some of the things that stood out? Yeah?
Like little moments of life, like kids playing Star Wars masks and your daughter being scared and then falling asleep, being able to take her home.
Yeah, and you can kind of watch all those things like a movie in your mind. Yeah.
I heard a story. You told a story.
Yeah, and it was a story. Yeah.
Do you guys inflated the screen and used a big projector?
Yeah, you can see the screen inflating and the projector going on it. So, what I want you to take away from this, don't try to, I'm going to ask you now to share with the person next to you about a specific place or tradition that you love, what's on the screen here. Don't try to duplicate what I did. Share something that's true to you, but one thing that works is to get really like a visual with the imagery. That's one thing that really works here. Okay? And it should take like no more than a minute. This is like a minute or less of a story or so. Okay? And you can go back and forth with your partner and refine it if you want to, or you can just share back and forth and share about it if you want to as well. All right, first let me check. We had a few people join. Does everybody have a partner? Does anybody not have a partner? Raise your hand. Okay. Is anybody with their like brother or best friend forever that you've known for a long time?
My BFF, are you?
These guys.
Okay, we'll split you up so that you're with somebody that's new for you. Okay, great. Go ahead and share about this with your partner.
Just one other thing.
One other
So
thing?
throughout the day, there might be people taking videos.
Wait, hold a moment, just a second.
Throughout the day, there might be people coming in taking photographs. If anybody objects to that, just come let me know because we might want to take some photographs. Okay. Sound good? Okay.
Anybody else, wave your hand.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, go ahead and share with your partner.
All right.
Okay, I'm Bruce, aka Mr. Radcliffe, also high school science teacher down in Fresno.
I'm Ananya. Yes.
Sounds like Punjabi or something.
No, it's an Indian language, but yeah, it's in Sanskrit.
Okay. So, how about you start off here?
Well, I'm in choir, and so every year we have like a choir camp retreat into like the hills. But for the past few years, like we've had fires nearby, and it's been really smoky. Like exactly during that time, and like 1 year it was canceled. So like if there's so many fires in California, and if climate change keeps on going, like we might not be able to do that.
Well, it's short, so I'll go. I ride my bike to school every day in Fresno, and I love riding my bike 4 times a day. And every time I go back forth, you can be seen in the car and on the bike, and so I always get people say, "Hi, Radcliffe." It's just nice you to keep in it every day, but the air has gotten so bad some days that I have to wear this mask. So first of all, it's me. And secondly, it's just, you don't want to wear a mask. It's like it's inconvenient. So it's the environment has been degraded. It's not like because of climate change necessarily, because it's bad air in Fresno. We're famous for bad air in the nation. But recently the fires have made it incredible. So, yeah.
Especially like up in the hills, like, and it's so cold, like, and it's sometimes if it's too smoky, like, it's choir, right? So we're always singing, and it like a lot of people were able to sing because like,
Yeah. Well, there's a site called Purple Air on the internet that lets you know how bad the air is that day, and it's weird. I mean, something like after the rain that we had a couple days ago, we had 8s and 10s, and then a day later it's already jacked back up to so unhealthy that I wear a mask. And I haven't worn a mask. I started wearing a mask this year, so I've been biking with bad air for 30 years. So I'm worried about my health.
yeah.
But I don't know. So you're from South San Francisco High School?
No, not. Go to school in San Ramon. It's in the Livermore, Pleasanton area, about 30 minutes away.
But are you guys all together at the same school?
No, those two are, but I'm not.
So is the air in San Ramon pretty good?
Generally, yeah, but like,
Fires?
yeah.
Yeah. Fresno, it's cars. And so there's always cars. So you might have a fire. So are you part of a group? animal?
Yeah, like in my school, we have a club green team, so we try to implement like environmental actions like in our school. Yeah, this is my first time with CCL specifically.
So what actions have you done?
We've done like different fundraisers to raise money for like, for example, we're gonna have a fundraiser to raise money for the Australian wildfires, things like that. We've set up like recycling bins in our schools, and we've done beach cleanups.
Oh, okay. Now, I have taught, I spent a month teaching climate change in science classes. How many teachers at your school teach climate change?
You should switch if you haven't already switched.
Like last
Both
year,
people should
my
go.
history teacher actually had us do a climate change
Switch if you
project,
haven't already
but she's
switched.
like the only one that specifically does that. I think in biology, like we go into it a little bit, but it's not super extensive.
That I see was a giant potential gain if I could educate the youth. And also a giant real barrier for teachers to For me, I can't not teach about it, but it's good at history teacher. But it's hard.
Yeah.
It's not the subject.
Yeah.
So, wow, so do you have any ideas, or have you thought in your group about how to get teachers to teach it?
Not specifically yet. We haven't really discussed that so far. So
Okay.
that would be something that
Wrap that up with your partner. All right. Yeah. Look at you. You should get a chair. Okay, there you go. Does anybody have something one that you'd want to share, and maybe your partner had a really great one, and you want to like encourage them? That's okay too. Yeah.
So
Go ahead and stand up so we can hear you. And what's your name?
So when I was younger, I would wake up and see like 4 fresh feet of snow.
Left graph, that cigarette smoke would decline. So if they did that with vaping and they started to tax the whatever, when you buy your first thing and you buy this thing afterwards, if it's getting more and more expensive to do it, then that sort of makes it harder for students to afford it. But then they get the message that it's not good for your health.
All right, final thoughts. And
so that's the same thing with climate change. It's like let's educate.
Right.
See, we'll just use that same technique. Good.
All right. Do you have a question? Or a comment? Actually, all right. Bring your attention to the front, please. Or out to the group. Yeah. Could you be a little louder?
Does the Citizens Climate Lobby advocate specifically for the Green New Deal, or is it mostly just this dividend?
We mostly focus on this dividend, this fee and dividend plan, and we think that what we would say is that the Green New Deal is a movement and a large set of things, and this is a component of that and a very good component of that.
Can I say one more thing about that?
Concisely, yes.
This is a good start on the Green New Deal. If this passed the Congress now, it would be a head start on a lot of the things the Green New Deal people want. It also is very acceptable to Republicans. They could incorporate some of their ideas. It's a center, good for both sides kind of a bill, which is the value of it, because it's a pass.
Most half the sponsors of this bill are people who believe in the Green New Deal, or supporters of the Green New Deal. So they're not separate.
It's not either or.
Other things that are like unresolved for you, they're like, yeah, but what about this thing? Like, any of those particularly from the students? Yeah.
Well, I understand, and I was able to get some good insight to what the whole bill is working towards. But I was wondering what Citizens Climate Lobby thinks or is working towards when it comes to the animal agriculture business and
The which business?
animal agriculture.
Animal agriculture.
Carbon and deforestation that goes along with that industry.
Mm-hmm. Generally, so this bill is focused on carbon pricing for the use of mostly like carbon in products or carbon-based fuels. And agriculture is actually handled by a different legislative process. So it's agriculture, and I would assume animal agriculture is not covered in this bill specifically. Now that said, a lot of the members of Citizens Climate Lobby are encouraged and free to go participate in other movements that they are interested in. And they take their CCL hat off and they put on whatever other hat for whatever other thing they're advocating for in that context. And they can bring all of the techniques and ways of building a relationship for that.
But think about the fact of just everything, no matter where it sits in the ecosystem, agriculture, if the process that's being used has a bigger overall carbon footprint, that's getting a little bit more expensive. So the business owners are going to be like, okay, how can we save a little bit of money? Can we do it a little differently? And so it would change things indirectly, I think, but not that there's no specific component of the legislation that addresses it.
Yeah, and I highly encourage you to take action on those, the things you're bringing up. Other comments or things? Yeah, but what about this? All right. I'm going to take it from the students only right now. Okay.
Core values. So Mark hit on some of this before, but focus. First of all, to thread the needle and get the House, 60 votes in the Senate, and the White House, we've got to have something that a lot of people on both parties agree on. And so because of that, CCL has taken a laser focus on this bill. Optimism. This is inherently an optimistic group, solutions focused. Relationships, we've heard us talk about this. I think Citizen Climate Lobby, better than so many other organizations, really pulls off the magic trick of in an office where they completely disagree with the policy. They might say, oh, hey, I don't know about climate change, I don't know about those climate change activist Looney Tunes, but those CCL folks, they're all right, and earning that respect. And a lot of it's about appreciating, et cetera, but really relationships driven. Integrity, being true to your word is a big part. Personal power. We're not paying the lobbyists. We're not doing this through campaign contributions. We're doing this through people showing up on Saturdays and learning a little bit more and then taking one step after the other and building an organization from 10,000 people to 182,000. Nonpartisan. That means in every Citizens Climate Lobby space, there should be it should be the environment where the most liberal Democrats and the most conservative Republicans should feel comfortable together. We're working towards something big. And diversity. This is something that we, at Leslie's, I applaud CCL for showing those slides and being completely transparent on it. It's a problem in the environmental movement that we need more diversity. And it's something we're working on, but we're trying to create a very diverse organization, and it's a process. Any other points you want to hit on those values?
I would say CCL is an organization that the two of us and many other people you've met are like really passionate about, and we like found our home here and we're like loving it. We think it's part of the pie of like what it takes to do action. Yeah. So there are other organizations that will do things like organize marches or loud things. More power to them. That's just not what we focus on in this organization. And I encourage you to find your home, if you will, with organizations. And I hope that it's this one. But you know what, you might find it's a different type of organization as well.
Yep. Okay. All right, we're now moving into sort of organizing action in your community. And for a lot of people in this room, that's probably two-pronged. That's with your CCL chapter, and then maybe it's also at your school with your green team or environmental club. Well, first, I hit on this earlier, but part of our core DNA is that in building political will, we don't think politicians create that. We think we have to, they respond to it. And that's why organizing and sort of pulling together the mass army of folks to speak out on this issue.
And you could replace politicians here with school administrators.
Yes, exactly.
For instance.
Yeah, city councils, whatever. That's the truth. They react to organization and people. Okay, let's talk about comfort zones. We all probably can identify with this. A lot of times when I'm at a conference and don't know anybody, I want to be the person in the corner that's just like, yeah, I need to check stuff on my phone and not do small talk. You know, anybody identify with that? Right? Yes, we all can. But we're dreaming big in this thing, and we're trying to figure out how to make it happen. And a lot of that means going outside of your comfort zone. And really, I think everybody in this organization has taken a step outside of their comfort zone and figured out, oh wow, I can do that. I've seen it from high schoolers in our chapter who showed up at their first meeting and were totally quiet, and then 3 months later we're speaking at a city council meeting. And that's amazing. It's about helping you find all of the skills and everything inside you to go on and take those next steps. So it really is part of the process. And as far as our methodology, there's days like today where we're just meeting and educating ourselves. There's getting inspired. What about that wacky EICDA song? That was nuts.
Yeah.
But afterwards, I'm like, okay, all right, let's go. Yeah, bravo. And sometimes just watching the video we watched a second ago, I'm like, yes, that's a good idea. Let's do that. And another part's practice, especially if you're going to be in the room talking with a member of Congress. It's good to go over what you want to say before, to figure that out, to sort of figure out exactly how you want to approach it, because a lot of times with important people, the time you get with them is a small amount. And then the last part is executing on it, taking action. So that's basically the methodology. We believe there are 5 levers of political will. One is lobbying, directly talking to those people in power. Another is media relations. And this is part of it, that it's great if the San Francisco Chronicle writes more about climate change or USA Today, but it also helps with the lobbying. It helps sway those decision makers. There's grassroots outreach. That's bringing more people into the fold, getting them to care about it, building that army.
Writing letters to your member of Congress and delivering a stack of letters.
Yeah. Big thing. And then grass tops outreach. This is sort of about local leaders. Like, even think in your school. If you were trying to get your school to take a specific action, to, let's say, introduce a whole new composting program or something, are there specific people at your school who you would feel like, oh yeah, if we got this teacher and maybe this vice principal on board, I think we can convince the principal. Or this student leader, maybe if I get the student body president. That's sort of an idea of grass tops. And outside of school, you can imagine how that played out as well. And the other part's chapter development. Figuring out in a group of people who you want to ask to do what, and building out a chapter. Do you have anything else to say on this one, or should we?
I don't want to get it. So by a raise of hands, how many of you would say of like, I have organized some people around me, friends, family, or otherwise, to do something kind of in this world? Yeah. Okay. Great. And there's some of you who wouldn't say like, I've done the organizing for that. I'm inviting you to all consider that action happens out of an organizer. And often the organizer, the person developing the chapter, directing people, putting this together, it's sometimes not a glamorous role. It's like a lot of work. And it feels like a lot of like, oh, is this ever going to be over? But that is the lifeblood of advocacy work from a citizen level, from your level. And so I want to thank you for everyone who's been organizing and encourage you to keep on going. And those of you who haven't seen yourself as that before, maybe you could start seeing yourself as that. I would say that people around you probably do see you as a leader, and you can start expressing that, and people will follow you on it.
Great. So this is the basic structure for how CCL divides up the sort of action groups or action teams in forming a chapter. And so, like I say, there's part of this is about your established CCL chapter that you might be a part of, and then what you want to do at your school. Part of it's the media team, somebody who's monitoring newspapers for letters to the editor. Quick point on that, you might hear about that from time to time, and this is going back to the congressional experience. Letters to the editor, I don't know how many people, just citizens, read those, but the crazy thing is they are very closely read in congressional offices. They want to know what their citizens are talking about, and so they monitor them. So that's a large reason why in CCL you have people talking about, oh, we want to get a good letter to the editor. So there's a media component. There's the lobbying team. These are folks who are probably actually going to DC, who are interacting with the office, helping schedule things. Grass tops teams. These are people who are maybe getting endorsements saying, oh, what would it take to get Google to say, hey, we agree. We agree that we should pass HR 763. There's the grassroots team. Some of those folks are out at events like tabling, trying to just get the word out, and other folks are out doing presentations. And then there's the group and volunteer development team. And the crazy thing about this is so many people, when they really start to care about climate change, they want to do something. And it's just crazy because I've had some instances where I'm like, oh, there's a specific task, and it seems so boring, nobody's going to want to do that. And there was something in particular that I thought was really administrative, and I'm like, I'm going to have to end up doing it. And then a member in our chapter was like, yeah, I would love to do that. And to him, that felt empowering. People want to do something about this. And what that means is, if you ask, they'll respond. And they're more willing to respond than what you would think. And I really identify that with the group and volunteer development team. That's not probably as sexy as being in the room with a member of Congress, but it's a key part of this whole process. Stuart, do you have any other thoughts on that?
People come in, you just chill out over here.
We've got some folks coming in who are going to play with members of Congress.
You might be starting to ask, well, what am I supposed to do with this? Why are you telling me this? We theorized that in your schools or in your communities that you are somebody who could possibly be organizing action. Now, one way that could look is you organize a CCL chapter, like on a single college campus. There are some college campuses that have a CCL chapter. But that's only one way that it could look. Another way it might look is I went to an already existing environmental group on my campus, and I started participating with them and bringing some of the skills here to that group, and they became much more effective out of that. It could look like that. It could also look like I'm going to get together 10 people I know who care about this, and we're going to form a group, and we're going to take action on that. So what I'd like to hear now, I'd like to hear from some of you what are you seeing right now as ways you could organize action around? Like, what would you care about? What would you organize around? What do you think your community cares about? I want to hear some ideas from the group and from the students. What are some things you want to add?
Classmates.
Yeah.
So our group is called Climate Crew in our school.
Yeah.
And the whole main reason why it started is because a bunch of almost the whole school decided to go on strike and just left the school completely.
Went to the climate strike march?
Yeah, but it
September 20th.
it just went way farther than it should have. People there were kids walking on streets. It was really unsafe and stuff. So our principal worked with you and Logan. Yeah. To create this club. So now it's I think more and more people are coming to each meetings that we have, but it's a good middle line because it was our principal gave us oh, we know you're gonna do it and we respect it, but don't go off campus, and then there's students who disobeyed that. So then we lost trust. But I think we're getting it back now, and a lot more kids are getting attention to this movement that's actually doing something.
And what's your goal with the club? What are your goals?
So we started the club mainly to organize more strikes and events that we could do for climate change. But when we started it, we realized that we needed more education because a bunch of the students, they knew that there was climate change, but they didn't know what was causing it. It was just a lot of confusion. So we've been working, our main goal is to get more climate education in every grade level from K to 12 in our school district. So we've been working with our school district to get just more education, and then we've also been working towards changing from our diesel buses to getting electric school buses, and we also have a bunch of community service events that we're trying to plan out, and just a lot of different activities.
Let me ask one more question of you about that, then I'd love to hear another example from somebody. What are the ways in which you're asking for it? Can you go back one slide? Some of the ones we covered here, and you might be doing other ones too, are writing letters to the newspaper or the student newspaper, reaching out to different groups on your school, actually meeting with district administrators, writing letters, like what are some of the actions you're doing? Yeah? Are you in the same
Yeah,
group?
we're all
Okay.
So we've gone directly to the Board of Education in our district, and we had a whole big group there, basically lobbying for all this different stuff that we want, that you just mentioned. We've done a lot of stuff in the school news, like the broadcast that we have, and I know we've got kids that are running like social media and stuff for it, and stuff like that.
Got it. I got the world of it. Thank you. So like I said, want to add something? Yeah.
So, some of us are also involved in the local Sunrise chapter. I don't know if you know about Sunrise. It's a youth-led climate movement. So we've designated a few of us go and canvass for Bernie Sanders in Nevada. We also write to the board of directors kind of as a group. So
Have a challenge for folks. After they leave here on your way to lunch, we want people to take that first step and dial your member of Congress and leave a message on the voicemail. So I'm going to do that right now with Congresswoman Jackie Spear and call her DC office on speakerphone. What if she picks up? Oh my gosh. Jackie!
You've reached my capital office. Unfortunately, there is no one here to take your call right now. So, if you will leave your name and telephone number, we promise to get back to you just as soon as we can. In the alternative, you can call the district office at 650-342-0300. And thanks again for calling. Record your message after the tone. When you've finished, you can hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hi, my name is Sundance Banks. I'm a constituent in San Mateo, and I wanted to call to thank Congresswoman Spear and her staff for co-sponsoring HR 763, the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act, as well as to introduce your recent bill on EVs. I'm a member of Citizens Climate Lobby, and we are really trying to work for bipartisan climate solutions. And we're very appreciative of all the work you're doing. I just want to say thank you. Take care. Bye. That's it. That's it. If you need to help figuring out who your member of Congress is, or to figure out the phone number, just come find me afterwards. I'll try to look up some of the common ones.
Can you explain the benefit of having left a voicemail? What happens now?
So on Monday, an intern will listen to the voicemails, and they'll have a tally sheet. And they'll, first of all, they'll probably have different categories, so this will probably get classified under environmental, and there will be a notes section where they might write CCL or EV bill. And they, I didn't leave my number, right, so they're not going to call me back. But then once a week, the Congresswoman would get the results of all of the legislative director and the chief of staff in the Congressroom would get a result of this week we had this many calls. And they track that. In Jackie Spear's weekly newsletter, she says specifically what the top 3 topics were for letters she got that week. So it influences them. If all of a sudden there'd be like, oh, we're hearing a lot about animal cruelty, all of a sudden people must be getting organized on that. Then the staffers get educated on it, and then it goes from there, and then maybe they do something about it. So it's a process.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you have one more question?
Yes.
I was wondering, can you call the state representative about CCL climate change multiple times?
Yes. The question is like, are you using up all of your capital? Like you want them to know. You want to know you're a human who has a specific ask, and not some person who's calling if you're calling all the time, you're sort of like, oh, that person, and so it's tricky. But I try to call a few times a month, or write. Yeah.
What we're going to do now is we're going to meet with a member of Congress's staff. But first, we're going to organize into lobby teams. So the lobby teams are going to be 4 or 5 people, and there's going to be all youth, all student teams, and then all the adults will form teams on their own as well. So what I'd like you to do now is please form groups of 4 or 5 people. It should be students only or adults only in a particular group. Go ahead and do that and sit down at a table when you are ready.
Let's do. We help designate the student group.
How about this? Stick around this. If I find a group of 4 or 3, I'll see what the groups look like. Do we have any people that are like, I'm not in a group of 4 or 5? It's like
Rivals.
We have 3 on our table.
3, okay. Got any other 6s or 3s? Okay, great. Okay, I'll maybe. Okay, you got that. Great. Can you raise your hand if you are a high school or college group, so I kind of know where you're at? Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that right? Right on. Okay. So what's getting passed around right now is a meeting roles piece of paper. Can I have one of those?
Yeah, and raise your hand if you don't have one in your hand right now.
So this is getting passed around. Raise your hand if you need one. So let me tell you a bit about what's going to happen, and then I'm going to let you plan with your group. So you are going to have a meeting with a staffer from a member of Congress's office. On this piece of paper is some tips and instructions for organizing your meeting. You might find this very helpful later in doing meetings like this. On one side, meeting roles are outlined, is the different types of roles that get played in a meeting. So of the 4 or 5 people in your group, you'll each pick a few roles in here. You should probably cover all the roles. You might have 2 roles. That's okay. On the back side, if you turn to the back side of this paper, it says initial meeting outline at the top. That is where there's a chronological agenda of how you run a meeting with a member of Congress using CCL's methodology. We're asking that you follow this more or less closely as possible this time, because you'll learn a lot by going through that. Okay, now you might ask, wait, but who am I meeting with and what am I asking for? So for the purposes of this exercise, you're going to be asking what's on this paper. We'll give one of these to each group. You're asking this person to sponsor HR 763, the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act. That's the bill we were talking about earlier. We'll get this to you in a moment. Who am I meeting with? We're going to pass around a series of bios. So these are front and back bios on a particular member of Congress. I have 4 members of Congress. They are, I have a map of them right here. These people, okay. So I have Ami Berra from District 7. I have Doug LaMalfa from District 1. I have Tom McClintock from District 4. And I have Barbara Lee, who we saw earlier, from District 13. So those are the members of Congress that you'll be meeting with. We will hand around these. Does anybody already know our group really wants that one?
Can we get Tom McClintock?
Okay, great. Hang on to that side.
You get Tom McClintock as well.
Is that your district?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we'll be sure to get that to you, okay? Well, Barbara Lee, okay. Barbara Lee as well? Okay. Other requests? All right, well, they're all great. You'll learn it all. Okay. Okay, great. We're going to get the bios to you now, and then we're going to prioritize the student groups, and then we'll get it to the adult groups. In about 10 minutes, a staffer from the member of Congress's office will come to meet with you. And you're going to run a meeting with that person, okay? Okay? If at some point you're like, I don't know what we're doing, I want some coaching, raise your hand, and somebody will come over and give you some tips. We are intentionally letting you figure this out on your own. That is the design of what we're doing right now. Okay? All right, we're going to get the bios to you. Go ahead and start planning when you're ready.
DC, you have the chance to be in the room with members of Congress and talk to them directly about why they need to do something on climate now and why it's important to you in your life. It's really a special experience, and you'll learn a ton. It's just one of my very favorite days of the year. So
I would say it's where you for yourself become, oh, I'm really doing this. I really am somebody who takes action on climate change.
Because we all wake up some days, God, just somebody do something about climate change. This is it. This is where you have a chance to be in the room. I mean, now we're going to start getting to Hamilton lyrics, but that's what we're talking about. So that's all I've got to say on that. As for our other challenge on making a call on your way to lunch, I've got phone numbers. If you are interested in making a call and want to come ask me the phone number for your member of Congress, I would say call it and then hit save and have that number in your phone. And that's what I've got with Jackie Spear, like my leg Jackie. Okay. That's all I've got. It's been a pleasure being here with you all.
Thank you. With that, we are concluded here. Feel free to converse and debrief some more if you wish. Otherwise, lunch is downstairs.